Okay, welcome to the June 16, 2026 Flathead Reservation Water Management Board meeting. With that, our first item is to adopt the agenda. Anybody take a look at that? See if it's any changes, modifications, or good with it.
Mr. Chair, I just have a small little heads up for the group. The action item under 4.2.3 will need to be revised when we get to that, and we'll explain the small tweak to that action.
Okay.
When we get there.
Thank you. With that, any other comments on the agenda?
Oh, there we go. I was looking at.
Take a motion. Motion.
Board action 65.
Chair, I move to adopt the agenda subject to the changes by hearing.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda with a modification to 4.2.3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. George, could you lead us in an opening prayer today?
Certainly. Okay. Dear Lord Jesus, thank you for this day, for this gathering of fellow board members and staff. Please be with all of us, be in our hearts. Protect us, guide us throughout our days. Help us to work together, be respectful, kind to each other, and help us to come to common agreements on our issues at hand. Please be with those that are less fortunate than us, and help them through their tough times. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, George.
You're welcome.
Okay, with that, the minutes to the other meetings are posted on the board's website at www.frwmb.gov. So I guess, Dustin, you want to do a attendance roll?
Chairman Roger Noble.
Yes.
Vice Chair Jordan Club.
Here.
Chris Frizzell.
Present.
Bruce Swaney.
Here.
Kenneth Fitz.
Here.
Right, thank you. So we have a full board today. With that, we'll disclose any potential conflicts of interest. Ken?
None.
Chris?
None.
Ruth?
None.
George?
None.
None for myself. All right. Okay, the next item is to adopt the minutes from the May 19, 2026 board meeting. You want to take a minute to peruse those? See if we're good? Are there any revisions or modifications to the May 19 minutes?
No.
Okay, okay. Get a motion to,
Motion to approve the minutes of May 16th meeting. Excuse me, May 19th meeting.
Second.
okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the board minutes from May 19 as stated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, public comment. I see there's one person our audience. I don't believe you have any comment. All right.
If anyone online from the public has a comment, please raise your hand and I'll allow you to speak. No public comments.
All right, there was no public comment for this meeting for those items not on the agenda. Okay, Elena, I guess you have a couple introductions for us.
Yeah, I'm excited to introduce Olin Houston, our new water resource specialist. Olin, do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. How's it going, everybody? Owen Halston. Like Lana just said, I'm the new water resource specialist here. So far, my time here has been very interesting. A lot of variety of different projects going on. I'm currently working on developing all the offices, SOPs, or standard operating procedures for how we process applications. I'm just really excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Great. And also joining us in the office, we have Alex Johnson. He'll be interning this summer.
It's good to see you all again. I'm an intern from SKC and I'm assisting Olin in his SOP development and looking forward to a productive summer.
All right, thank you. Olin and Alex, welcome aboard. Good to have you. So, all right, with that, we'll move on to the water policy and procedures. I guess we have a form 653F also, Elena.
Yeah, so I just wanted to provide the board with the 653F water withdrawal of the water right form. We've had some feedback from partners and DNRC in that the form inadvertently conveys that we are able to allow folks to request to withdraw a portion of their interest in the water right. And at this point in time, the process for splits and severs of water rights is still through DNRC, as DNRC and the state update ownership records. And so we're still working through that process. And while we wanted to update this form to remove that portion of the form that seems to allow for withdrawal of a portion of an interest, as that may result in a severed water right. And so of note, in addition to the crossed out form here, in the important box up at the heading, we also want to strike on bullet point 2, the portion after use this form to withdraw an entire water right. There's a comma, and we want to strike the comma or your interest in a water right, so that it more fully conveys that this is only for full withdrawal of an entire water right.
So questions? So the way you described it, is this something we're gonna have to come back at sometime in the future and re-implement that part that we're striking now?
I'm uncertain.
Okay.
At this point in time, ownership updates are through the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation.
So if somebody went through and severed their portion of a water right, could they come back then and would use this form then to sever that portion?
So this is a request to withdraw an entire water right. And so if they're going to change ownership of a water right from, say, a number of people, and one person would be removed, and let's say there's 3 people and person C is removing themselves from their interest in that water right, then they would update the ownership of that water right to be A and B with the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation. If somebody has a water right on the reservation that they never put to use, or that they just want to withdraw as a water right, then they can use this form.
Okay. Sounds pretty straightforward. Any discussion regarding this form or these modifications to this form? Yeah, take public comment on the proposed changes.
That's the,
There's no
yes.
comment in the audience.
If anyone online has a comment, please raise your hand and I'll allow you to speak.
There you go.
No public comments.
Okay, seeing no public comment, the record will show such. I guess, we'll take a motion to approve Form 653F as revised. I'll move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the modifications to Form 653F. Dustin, you want to do a quick roll call?
Yeah, benefit. Oh, wait.
You can start wherever you want.
Yes.
Chris Brazell,
Yes.
Roger Noble.
Yes.
Glenn McClung.
Yes.
Bruce Kane.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, so that takes care of item 4. Office of the Engineer Water Updates. Elena, I guess you're still on board here.
We skipped over 4.1 there.
Okay. All right, is that you then that's gonna give us an update?
That's me as well.
Oh,
So, the water policy and procedures, we had a meeting earlier this morning with the permit and change group and outlined a number of changes that we hope to bring to the July meeting. And so those will be provided, hopefully to the board in the August meeting. There may be another form or two that we will bring forward at the July meeting, but we'll be sure to get those to you with sufficient time to review prior.
any comment, questions for Elena?
Just thinking.
All right, thank you. So I guess then we can move on to 5, Office of the Water Engineer updates.
Great. So you can pull up the PowerPoint and share it. Yeah, the window. And then you'll have to click share though. You'll have to click on the actual window. Yep. And then you might do, yeah. Great. Well, thank you. What I'm bringing to you today is a very rough draft of a strategic plan. I've been here in this office for a short time, but I have found strategic plans to be really helpful in working with both the board and partners to identify priorities and then also have a venue with which to demonstrate where our workload and time has gone. So while normally this process would involve a number of back and forth and some more facilitated discussion with the board, there are a number of very concrete actions that we need to take place in the next year or two. And so this is the rough draft for your feedback presentation that will then work in this next month to put a document together to further outline these proposed goals. And that will be available to the public and then for further input or review. And that document will be emailed to all of you prior to that meeting. If there are thoughts after this presentation, or if anyone would be interested in setting some time aside to meet with me to talk about specifics or things that you'd like to see, I'd love to have that opportunity. But this will be the first strategic plan, to my understanding, that this office has had. And so the hope will be that in the next version of this, we'll have more of that facilitated process. Okay. All right, so the mission for this office is really outlined in the compact. But essentially it's to administer water rights within the exterior boundaries of the Flathead Reservation, that there's a single system for appropriation and administration, a single system for centralized records regardless of whether use is in state or federal law. So it's pretty clearly outlined, and this will hopefully help us further define how we go about that and all of the business underneath that heading. So next. All right, so as far as organizational development, our organization is quite young, and where I see us right now is moving from that startup building the foundation to really putting the sideboards and structure in place for ongoing continuity so we can meet our end goal, which is of being a trusted government instrumentality, which is just essentially being sure that we're interacting in a fair and transparent way with the public and all of the folks who are working in and around water on the Flathead Reservation. Thanks. Yeah. So just some general numbers. There have been 897 Flathead Reservation Water Management Board entries into WIRIS, the state water system, and about a third of those have been state registrations, and then the rest have been new domestic uses and things like that. Some of them have been geothermal, some of them have been replacement or redundant wells. And we're working through right now, Alex and Olin are, to get a better understanding of how many of those we've had and how fast we've processed things. Christy and Amanda have done the bulk of that work. But just to give you an understanding of where we've been, you know, so with approximately 32,000 people, 2,000 square miles, we've identified 7,000 wells in the GWIC system at Montana Bureau of Mines and Geology. And the bulk of the work that I referenced earlier that clearly defines what we'll be doing in the next couple of years are the approximately 1,500 tribal registrations that we've just received the first batch of to Haley, and then the 2,500 remaining state registrations that we need to process. So that's kind of some numbers to frame up the rest of what our priorities will be. All right, so consistency is the foundation of success. This is the template strategic plan enthusiasm slide. So yeah. Next one. All right, and so to kind of try to frame out our goals, I'll be using the SMART goals framework, where they should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And so while some of those will be a little squishy in this presentation, the goal and the hope is that we can better outline those when we present you with the Word document, with the paper document after this presentation, and after staff can get together to put some of those items together. All right. So core areas in working with staff and just thinking about where we want to end up as a trusted government institutionality in the future. There's 5 headings that I broke our goals into, and they're finance, permitting, policy, outreach, and then long-term continuity, which is kind of just like the infrastructure we need to maintain this office into the future. And when we think about finance, we're gonna talk more about generally acceptable accounting practices, internal controls, a request for proposals for an audit. Yes.
What is the acronym GAP?
Generally accepted accounting practices. Okay. Mm-hmm. And sorry, I will write all those out in the document. And then the request for proposals for the audit. So there are going to be some intermediate steps that will either delay or move the timing on those, but we'll outline those in the document as well. And then for permitting, as we just documented, there's 1,500 tribal registrations, 2,500 state registrations, and then there's also all of our permits and forms and documents to process as well. So that's going to be a big workload for our water resource specialists and water staff as a whole. For policy, I mentioned very briefly some of the work of the permit and change group. Haley and I have also been working to better organize some of that document to reflect what the end user might seek. So if a member of the public comes in and wants to either get a permit or they want to change a permit, we're hoping to reorganize that so it's more approachable for the public. And so that'll be some of our work, but also there's a wide array of items that we need to clarify within this document as this organization has a lot of direction from both the ordinance and the compact, but there remain gray areas where this document will provide transparency to the public and to staff about how we are going to walk through and do different items. And then the next header is outreach. So, you know, recently there's been a lot with the adjudication process. And so we have a lot of folks reaching out to our office about those letters and all of the items there. And so it's important that when we provide documentation, if somebody's registered a new domestic use or something like that, that we also have something that clarifies essentially where that is in line after, you know, the time of memorial rights, what's going through adjudication, the state registrations, and those types of things. Folks call our office asking for assurances, and what we'd like to give them is some educational materials and some outreach materials for their benefit. So we'll be working on that. There's also different groups that we can work with, from realtors to wall drillers, to help them better understand how to interact with our office and what is needed that is different on the Flathead Reservation as compared to the rest of the state. And then recently we've conducted a few site visits after complaints and things like that. So we're working through some field site visit forms and ways that we can have public relations and outreach that benefit both the public and our office in terms of providing education about where things are and what our office does. The last piece is long-term continuity, and those are like the side boards or the walls on that foundation that this entity has put a lot of work into building over the last couple of years. And that's, you know, figuring out an office building, figuring out how to keep data from field site visits or things that don't neatly fit into the official state database, so that should there be turnover, there's continuity in data. The piece that Owen referenced and that he is in charge of is the standard operating procedures. So just making sure that anybody who touches a tribal registration or an application or anything like that works through all the pieces in the same way. And so that, you know, if someone phones in, we provide the same feedback as well. So we'll be working through those pieces also for things such as setting up this meeting and recording it and those pieces. All right, so those are the big core areas. And then now I'll go into the smart components of both of them, not too in depth, but to where we'll kind of get an understanding of them so you know where we're headed for feedback before we provide that Word document next meeting. Okay. So finance, you know, our specific goal is an audit. Measurable steps we can make towards that are different reconciliation, internal controls, making sure we have the appropriate documents and clarify some of previous documentation. You know, we have assistance from Red Tail Accounting right now, and that's useful in terms of getting some of those going. This is relevant because it will help us build sustainable practices and transparency for partners in the public. And then the timing, it depends on some of those intermediate steps in terms of if fiscal year 2026 or fiscal year 2027 is more reasonable. So within the document, we'll highlight some of the ways in which we'll identify whether that specific goal is fiscal year 2026 or fiscal year 2027. For permitting, our end goal is to process all tribal and state registrations accurately. And so what we'll be working through is what our processing rate is per month per person. And we'll be getting some training from Heather McAdams from DNRC later this week, so we can kind of finalize that standard operating, the SOP, and then move forward there with all of the staff on the same page. And this will help make sure that we're accountable to processing. Some of them are more complicated than other ones, but this way, by understanding what that rate is and how we pursue that, we can scale our progress and the rate at which we do these with people over time. And it's relevant because it's the key function of our organization, and to put things in the appropriate place in line. And because as of now, we're still uncertain what that processing rate is, and we have not yet encountered tribal registrations, we'll be providing quarterly updates on our progress with both of those. Next. Policy, as I referenced earlier, our specific goal is to provide user-based documents, so ways in which the public can navigate the process here in identifying what forms they may need to fill out or what to expect in different processes. And the different pieces, the different gray areas that we'll need to navigate can change from quarter to quarter depending on what's going on with development or with different pieces of water rights that different entities want to bring forward. And so the goal within that group is to identify priorities each quarter. The work group consists of folks from the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation at the state of Montana, and then Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes, as well as folks from our office. So those priorities will drive what forms we bring forward and also what the workload looks like. And we feel that updating on a quarterly process allows the entity to remain nimble and responsive to the needs of different user groups, but also show demonstrative progress moving forward. Okay. And then it got tricky, so then we started to have two different SMART goals because you can't smush them together in this one and really achieve the goals. So, oops. Well, anyway, so the top one is information about where the Flathead Reservation Water Management Board fits into the process. And so one of the key goals there is to develop an outreach letter or a goal for each form. So it depends on if it's to a private domestic well user or if there's something about using compact system water or a geothermal well, those different pieces. And so while a letter is going to be the outreach piece that would go with most of those, in some instances where it involves compact water or it involves a change in the point of diversion or something like that, the goal of the outreach might be to just let others in the area know, or to be sure that it's noticed on our website or in a way that lets others be aware of that process. So we'll kind of work through that. And the timeline is missing, but I know I had one there. So I think we're gonna try to have that sometime in 2027, have at least a goal identified for each of the forms that we have to date. And then the second SMART goal for outreach was proactive outreach to specific groups. So already briefly discussed realtors and well drillers. So kind of have our group go through outlining what those subgroups are and how we intend to reach out to them. And then we'll track the outreach with mailings and calls. And this will be actionable by having it included in specific individual work plans. And that'll kind of drive which groups are approached. And this is going to be a SMART goal that's really ongoing. So the goal is to ensure that we have a thoughtful, proactive outreach to a new group of folks each year. be it realtors or well drillers. And it could be more than that, but having it intentional each year will hopefully get in front of potential issues. And we'll have to cycle back through them eventually at some point. All right, next. Long-term continuity, so the standard operating procedures, we want to develop those for all office activities with forms and processes. Olin is point on this, so that'll be a big chunk of his work plan. And it's quite relevant in terms of ensuring that there's continuity in operations. And the goal for these is July 2027. So a year to kind of work through all of those. For the database GIS pieces, our goal is to hopefully create some way in which to track where we've done field site visits or where potentially there's BIP water or there's different pieces that we might need to consider if we've already done a state registration in a subdivision, kind of some way to track all of the research that went into that so we don't have to duplicate it again. So that's the goal. We'll likely have to do an RFP or send out a request. So there will be steps in terms of weighing different options, be it a GIS dashboard or just a SQL database or something like that. And then, you know, it's relevant because as this office continues to exist for longer and longer, there will be more and more relevant information to track outside of what's in the official state virus database. And so the goal is to have that up and working hopefully by the end of 2027. It'll still be important as we start doing more field site visits and taking photos and things like that, figuring out just how we want that set up and how we can maintain it in hopefully a low cost way moving forward. In terms of the building, we'll talk some about the building later on, but there's also just some issues in terms of like fireproof storage of our files and pieces like that we need to consider long term. And so it's just part of thinking long term, thinking and working with partners on options and identifying the budget. And you know, the lease here is up in May of 2028. So if we're staying here, that's one thing. If we're doing something else, that's another thing, but just being sure that we're continuing to chip away at what that looks like and what needs to be put in place to maintain building operations. So where do we go from here? So what I'll do and what we'll be working on for this next month is pulling this information into more specific sub-steps and activities that need to happen to get to those end goals, and then working with and across staff to assign different tasks and check-in points and delegating who's point on different things, so that each person in the office has a work plan that helps drive us towards achieving the goals outlined in the strategic plan. And then we'll be bringing a more fleshed out document to the board in July for approval. Okay. That's the presentation on the draft strategic plan for the next couple of years. Any questions or thoughts from the board at this point?
Real good presentation. I've noticed that most of your photos are on the reservation. Did you just take them recently?
I just went through my phone.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to have them.
Helicopter.
Except for the very first photo. Where was that?
Oh, that's in Mission.
Was it
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
You can see the
Did you
mission.
tire those in front?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, my mother-in-law, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
I appreciate the format. It's the one that we use in government planning. So, you know, speaking to specific goals and getting to time relevance and how we, you know, move towards those, because we can always say we have a mission and our goal is this, and then it seems to go on forever, and we wonder, well, when is this going to be completed or addressed more, concretely. So I applaud your effort and look forward to more discussion on that. Great, very appreciated. A hard first month you've put in already.
Yeah.
No, it looks great, Elena. We needed this for a long time and it looks fairly comprehensive and has timelines on it, milestones.
Mhm.
So you're getting all the pieces put together. It's great. It's great.
All right.
Any other comments, questions?
I was impressed.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Always makes you wonder whether we have enough people in place to do all that stuff.
I wonder that as well.
Yeah.
That's a question you should definitely answer.
Mhm.
There was a thing in there on budget I saw.
Mhm.
All right, I
Sustaining
guess,
and-
that's 5.11. So 5.12, any other items you wanted to bring forth in the
Well, I would
updates?
just, it was discussed in the strategic plan, but Haley did receive the first batch of tribal registrations. So, we'll get going on that process.
So maybe you could just give us a little terse summary of how that works. Haley transfers that first batch similar to what they did with the state-based. Then does each of those get put in a database or how do you?
Yeah, so what we're doing with the travel registrations is CSKT Legal transfers them to Haley.
I
And
act as the board, since I have a housing system that is secure, to transfer those, so I act as the board under the ordinance.
And then when we've done things like go through the wireless training with DNRC and have the standard operating procedure, we request a batch from Haley, and then we have 180 days to process that batch of registrations. So we're anticipating taking that first batch in, making sure they're correct and complete, and processing them into Wireless starting that first week of July. And it's a smaller group. So we may be able to, when larger groups are transferred, break them into pieces that we can be sure that we process in a sustainable time step. From my understanding with conversations with both CSKT and DNRC, the goal is to process tribal and state registrations concurrently. And so we'll just have to weigh and be sure that we can process those in the time steps allotted under the ordinance.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions for Elena? Great, good job. All right, we're on to budget. Yes, Rhonda, I guess Elena will start, I suppose.
And I'll start by kicking it to Rhonda.
In the middle of your packet, you have Q2 budget to take a look at. And this was in correction for September. And also we had 2 cells that were calculated backwards and inaccurately. And so that was under the human resource specialist and the accounting line items. What we did is we just zeroed those out. So they're showing 0%. But in the brackets, they're actually showing how much we're negative on that. So it's just a little bit more of a clear format. So thank you guys for catching that. And so this is up for your guys' approval.
Is the last column, the percent, is that percent spent or
That's the percent remaining.
remaining, okay.
So in those two columns, there's 0% left in that line item.
Mhm. And make a motion to accept the Q2 financial report.
There,
Comment first, time?
yeah, yeah, maybe we should have a little discussion. Any questions relative to the budget for the second quarter? Did you have a question?
No.
So I had one question, and I know, and maybe, you know, Ruth can answer this as well. But when we built this, you know, it was built at the start of the year, and there have been changes since then. So would it be appropriate to revise, you know, maybe some of the personnel categories relative to what they are now versus what they were then? I'm going forward.
Yeah, it's typical, you kind of get into the year, you're dealing with either position lapse or just actual expense changes. And we call it revision or reallocation. You find that some areas are under, some are over, but you're still having to remain within your total. So in the world I work in, our finance group has that delegated authority from the governing body. So we do it like virtually all the time. Otherwise it would be a little bit too burdensome to bring in every modification for approval.
Yeah.
So, I'm a bottom line person. I look at the total and look at how far we are in the year, and probably why I kind of charge forward and say, oh, it looks complete to me. But I appreciate the comment. In the ones that we did overexpend, I would expect there should be some consideration of just revising those to true up with what it actually is. We're getting into the last quarter. Looks to me like if management was going to do that, we could see that change in that third quarter report and be good with it, because the third quarter is ending in a couple of weeks. So.
Yes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that'd be a good idea. I guess I always look at these things as a living document, you know, a work in progress. You kind of build on where you're at relative to the overall budget you've got. So, okay. Any other comments, questions? Chris?
No, getting my feet under me on how you guys track this stuff.
Okay. All right, there's a motion on the floor to approve this. Okay, moved and seconded. To approve the budget summary for the second quarter of 2026. Dustin, you want to do a quick roll call?
Sorry.
Oh, public comment, thank you. You know, I was gonna work on that.
I can do your PC man over
Good catch, good catch. All right, any public comments from the audience? Any, Dustin?
If anyone online has a comment, please raise your hand. I'm here to speak. You can speak now. All right. What else I should do there?
Sir, could you give us your name and what comment you'd like to make?
If you're speaking, you're on mute.
Can he type in a comment?
If you'd like to type in a comment, you could also.
You're muted. Their mic is muted.
Then click on the hand.
And his mic is muted. Hmm.
Mr. Chair, you can let the record reflect that public comment was asked. There was a public comment attempt. The board did make multiple attempts to provide, an opportunity for public comment. And, the person, interested in making a public comment did not make a public comment.
Okay, with that, if you would want to send in your public comment either via an email or US Postal Service, we would also accept that. Okay, with that, is there any further public comments?
There's something.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the second quarter budget summary, although, or Dustin, go ahead and do a roll count.
Kind of,
Sure. I mean, yeah.
Chris Rizal,
Yes.
Karen Roger.
Yes.
Vice Chair George.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. So you can send this on to the funding agencies and we'll look forward to quarter three.
I think it's Ms. RBB.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. 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 Insurance,
With that, we are on to building updates.
insurance update,
Pardon me?
the insurance update.
Oh, I
one point.
skipped it over.
Yeah,
sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I have a little insurance update for you guys, if you guys
Okay.
are ready for that.
Mhm.
So I believe in the last board meeting, you mentioned that Pacific Source was going to be pulling out of Montana State. And so we did, reach out to Judy, our, point of contact for our insurance. She said that, she thought she had 3 viable options, and so she sent us enrollment forms, staff filled them out, and we sent them back. And one of the options we thought we might have was Associated Employers for another health plan, and they're kind of more of a self-insured provider. If we were to go with them, we had to hurry up because they have an open enrollment period of October or August 1st, sorry. We did get a quote from them, and they actually said that they couldn't help us. And so that isn't an option. So now we're down to just 2 options: Blue Cross Blue Shield and Mountain West Co-op. It's also been Judy's advice that there's factors involved with Mountain West Co-op that seem similar to the signaling that Pacific Source did. And so overall, she would suggest we stuck with Pacific Source until February, and then we would quote again and go on to Blue Cross Blue Shield as our primary and best option for us. But we did quote it with Mountain West Co-op and Blue Cross Blue Shield just this last week, and they were considerably less than when we quoted it in the beginning of the year. So we're hopeful that maybe it might be affordable again. So that's the kind of the update we have for insurance.
When would we have action to contemplate on them?
We need to make a decision by February 1st, which is when we are going to lose Pacific Source. So sometime in January, we're gonna have to requote and then present it to the January meeting for sure for action. So probably start working on it in December, so we have the accurate stuff for January. And then, yeah, our last month with Pacific Source will be February.
Okay. All right, thank you, Rhonda. So I guess then we're on to building updates now. So, Just
Yeah.
finance, oh,
Well, we'll both approach different portions of it as I forwarded, at the last board meeting, the landlord, Martha Suter, had phoned in to request that I read this letter aloud. It was allowed to the board. We did not receive it that same day that she made that phone call. It was sent in the mail. I scanned it and sent it to you, and as it's directed to the board of directors, it was included in your packet. It is largely what was discussed in the April meeting, the meeting before I started, around electrical issues and things like that. At that meeting, Rhonda went through what had occurred and how we addressed those issues and how that differed from the landlord's perspective on those issues as well. And so Rhonda is able to answer specific questions about that, should anyone have questions.
And just a small building update too, we do have water in the basement right now, and she did send a plumber in. The plumber wasn't really willing to identify himself. He drove a personal vehicle, but he has been acting like a plumber. He resolved the water, he's got fans in the basement. And so we were told that Martha sent him, so that's kind of, she's took in charge on that.
Yeah, and the basement flooded, the power went out for a while and the sump pump stopped working. And given that the power went out, the HVAC and condensation backed up. It was also during that period of rain. Mm-hmm. So I did call her immediately after finding standing water in the basement. And then she had somebody arrive the next week.
She did, yeah. And I guess he was originally here 19 years ago, and he was part of putting the sump in. And so she's kind of called him back, kind of like warranty work. His suggestion to the building owner is if she doesn't want it to happen again, she needs to patch the foundation where it's cracked going to the sidewalk. So I guess it hasn't happened before in the 19 years, but with 4 inches of rain over the course of a few days, that led to what we have now. It doesn't look like we have any mold or anything in the basement. It got handled quickly. Luckily, we don't check the basement very often. Luckily, somebody opened the door and said, "Oh, we got water down here." So we were able to catch it fairly quickly. On the walk around with Martha, there was one comment that kind of stood out. She was upset that we had Wade replace the GFI breaker upstairs that wasn't working. She said she knew that it wasn't working when we rented the building, and therefore we should have known that, and it should be on our bill to pay for that.
So in the letter, she's commenting about this, the electrical outlets aren't meant to support all of these things being plugged in. I mean, recognizing this is a workplace that we will plug in things. Are we running into issues with the capacity that we need to serve our staff and the needs that they have?
Yes. We have 3 outlets in this room, and to be able to service all 3 workstations, they are on power strips.
I guess, yeah, I have spoke before. I'm not interested in approving expenses to go into someone else's property, but it's hard to then ask the staff to perform within those limitations. I mean, I can accept that. You know, sure, they'll use common sense and not knowingly overload or do things, but I just wonder, well, when is enough enough? And the suggestion that we get the contracted electrician to do the upgrades is, I would absolutely be opposed to that. If they're not going to do it, if she's not going to do it as the owner of the building, I mean, I think our path forward is clearer.
I think that the conversation was to kind of get an idea what it would cost and see if she she would be interested. I know that some of the electrical in this building has been done. And we finally got an electrician, but it took a lot to get one here. And his estimate was 50,000. And one of the things that the staff really wanted is better lighting, more office type lighting. And originally she said that she would cover half the cost, and she's now rescinded that. So even if for moving forward and just trying to replace some of these halogens, she does not want to participate in that anymore. So, and that also, on that same subject, I was directed to get window quotes. I was able to solicit one more quote with the general contractor to include windows and installation, and he came in considerably less than Valley Glass. So this quote came in right around $6,000, with the cost of the windows being separately bid, just to kind of see where we're at $3,000 for the cost of upstairs windows. But that falls into that category. Does the board want to pay for upgrades? And would she allow the upgrades? She had on the walk around, she was very attached to those windows upstairs.
That's kind of my recollection too, that seemed like we were in an unwinnable position there too, to just simply
really
tolerate the way it is. And
it really felt like it on the walk around. She went from kind of having an open dialogue to, well, she doesn't really want to do that now.
what does our attorney think about the continued habitability of the dwelling that we're in?
Yeah, I have provided a position statement to the chair on this that I'm happy to share with board members. I'm not willing to make a position on the record of this.
So Ron, on your window quote though, I guess it's kind of moot. It sounds like anyway, since she doesn't want us to do it, but.
Well, we have one more quote to come in, and then I'll have 3 to put it towards the board if they wish, or not to pursue it, whatever the board directs me to do from here further. On that topic, we have buildings that are vacant on Main Street in different states of needing repair, but they're for sale. So there might be some future options out there, but it's just unclear whether we need to look at only lease or if we could look at purchase.
I don't think we ever got a ruling back from the state on that.
Yeah, so that conversation happened after the water conference, which was back in October, and that's still with the NRC and CSKT attorneys. So my goal was to have a meeting with the 2 of them to have that further conversation. They're a little preoccupied right now, dealing with some remnants of the compact litigation. So that is still a priority of mine though, to get that answer. I do have a position statement, and so I'm willing to send that to those attorneys to review. And if the board thinks that that's a valuable next step.
Yeah, I think we need some guidance, definitely. Because right now we're just in limbo, we don't have a yes, we don't have no, we don't have even a maybe.
We need something different.
So, yeah, let's proceed on that. I'll round it back to your window quote. You got 2 options in this one, but I don't see how that.
So originally I showed you Valley Glass, and that was $16,000. And I need to actually have them re-quote it. When we had a contractor here, he actually looked at Valley Glass's quote and said, well, why are they quoting for 4 windows? So they had an extra window on there, which would bring the quote down to approximately $13,000. But even with that, he had this gentleman, he came in, it was very nice, and he actually gave you a couple window options to look at. The one thing that he did say is if we hired him, that he would want the trim to be a separate deal because he could caulk the window in. He said the holes aren't necessarily uniform. And then to match the floors would be really expensive. And so he wanted to make sure that that would be completely discussed in full depth between the board and the building owner. And so this is just window install, caulked in place, and then a couple of different options on the windows, the different type. But the most expensive he has here is about $6,700. On this WBC quote, it was just windows only. It was just, I got that to provide if we had a contractor walk off the street and said, well, I can do it for such and such. We would know what the cost of windows would be. But yeah, we've got just shy of 7,000 all the way up to 13,000 right now. We're hoping to maybe get another one next week. We did have somebody reach out, but they're busy season and it's just a bid. And so it's kind of hard to get them here.
And are these bids just for the windows out front?
Just for the windows upstairs.
Oh, I thought she didn't want it. Well, she don't want to replace them.
Yeah, that's the question. Like we wanted to kind of find out what it would cost if the board wanted to pay for it. And if the board is willing to pay for it, is she gonna allow it? So that's, it seems like we have lots of different moving parts on this. So, I could have said a couple months ago, she would have been willing to let us do it at our cost because that was what she said before. But then after her last visit, it sounds like she's particular to the windows. So that's where I'm like, I don't know what her stance is going to be.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to the next quote, but sounds like it's kind of.
And Chair, if I may,
Sure.
there might have been another topic of discussion under budget, which was the water law conference. I believe Rhonda reached out to see how many members of the board wanted to attend. And
I've heard back from everybody but Ruth.
I'm sorry. I hadn't checked my email in a while.
We have a Montana Water Law Conference, October 19th and 20th in Helena. And we're doing registrations tomorrow if you'd like to attend.
Yes, very much.
In person or online?
I could go in person.
Perfect. We'll sign you up.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Roger wants.
So far ahead that I'll just arrange everything
I
around
know, the
that.
conference is the 28th and 29th.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
And we'll have the
I appreciate
hotel room for the night before, so.
And for staff, all attend, and then we'll have one for folks to, we'll have a sign up for staff for the office to attend remotely.
Sounds good.
Okay, great.
Okay. Right, that takes us through building updates. On to board business. Rhonda, I guess this is you also.
We have board compensation in front of you in the salmon color.
Finally, Roger isn't doing all the work.
That's the next page.
Thanks, Roger.
He's got it on the next one. Got me beat.
So I did hear back from everybody on confirmation on board compensation except for Ruth. And so we have.
Once again, I was working for free.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just the board meeting for May is all.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so I take a motion to approve the board compensation for May 2026.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the board compensation for May 2026.
Mr. Chair, was there public comment?
First, I think we got confused.
Yes, there is.
I think George.
If anyone online, any public online has a comment, please raise your hand on live. Sorry. Public comment.
It's like people have fallen off.
We're boring them. We gotta have more exciting.
I see no public comment. So it's been moved and is there a second? Second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next item is committee compensation for May 2026. Please take a look at that.
Well, again, I thank Roger for doing all of the background work on the hiring process, because the Lord knows I don't have that much time at times. I would make a motion to approve the committee compensation for me.
Got the public comment.
Oh, sorry, once again, public. comment.
If anyone online has a comment, please raise your hand. Allowed. Public comments online.
No public comment here either. All right, we have a motion to approve, second.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to accept board committee compensation as provided. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, that takes us to our next board meeting. Elena, we had a permits and changes meeting prior to this meeting today, and so I think we were looking at Wednesday, July 15th for that, and typically we have our board meetings on a Tuesday, which would be July 14th. Does that work for everybody's schedule?
I'm wondering if we're gonna have policies that we're gonna wanna discuss with the board, we should probably look at the following Tuesday.
The 21st?
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah. That meeting will be longer if we're as efficient as we hope to be.
right now proposed for July 21st. Any conflicts?
No conflict.
No conflict here. All right, well, we will set it for July 21st at 1 o'clock.
Will there be an executive session?
I don't, not at this time.
I know, I came early thinking there was, because I hadn't checked my
So did
email.
I.
So I think what we can be sure to do is to make it incredibly clear a week before.
Yeah, I said it, I don't know.
It's my fault. I take full blame for missing it.
I know. For leading each other astray.
Okay, so with that, I guess that concludes our business.
July 21st,
Take
put it
a
in the calendar. right?
motion to adjourn.
I second it.
All right,
I was gonna ask for public comment.
not for that. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.